everyone, Mike with Mastering Woodwinds here. So I'm getting back into making videos and I'm going to be trying out some new things as I move forward. Primarily today I'm trying out just a new general studio setup today. I'm also trying out OBS to see if that can help me make these videos more efficiently. Well, those are the two main things right now. But I'm also interested in starting to make some educational series that are along a specific theme. So today, what I'm interested in doing is starting a series on audition materials, common audition materials that you might be studying as a high school student or high school student level and preparing for auditions for an undergraduate degree. So with that in mind, what I'm going to do today, I'm not going to be playing anything at all today. Today is just going to be showing you a little bit about how to use open source music notation software. In this case, it's going to be MuseScore 4. And there are a couple reasons why you might want to do that. First of all, just by merit of writing out the piece for yourself, you're going to get to know it better. So that's one advantage. The other advantage is that you're going to have your own written copy at the end of it, and you can make whatever notes that you want to in there. You can change around if slurs are above or below the staff. You can write notes to yourself, do whatever you want, print that out, take that to your audition. And also the program has a MIDI playback and a lot of tools that help you to choose different sections of the song. If you want to focus in on a couple measures, you can do that. You can change the tempo. You can change volumes. If you got multiple tracks going on, you can turn up and down volumes of different tracks and stuff. I'll probably end up making a variety of videos where I'm actually using MuseScore to practice. But today, all I'm going to be doing is just writing the Etude into MuseScore and showing you a little bit about that. And like I said, it's kind of just a test for me to see if I can get OBS to work and everything looks good and all of that. So with that in mind, let's switch over to the MuseScore view here. And we're just going to go ahead and do a new score. First thing to do, all we've got is an alto saxophone in the sheet music. So we'll go ahead and click next. MuseScore 4 has this option to just hit done as soon as you have the saxophone in there. So if you don't care about the other stuff or you want to put it in later, you can just hit done. But I'm going to go ahead and do this. And part of the reason is, I think the most important for this video right here is that I'm using a public domain version that I grabbed off of IMSLP, which is an awesome resource if you're not familiar with that, to get public domain editions of music. So that's what I'm going to be using for this transcription here. So let's go ahead and put in these options here. This is, here, let me start here. This is going to be from the 48 studies for oboe or saxophone. If you're a high school age or high school level classical saxophone player and you've never heard of these Etudes by W.F. Ferling, and this is going to be number 7, a E minor right here. Close that, and then key signature. Okay. E minor looks like G major, which for concert pitch is going to be B flat major. So we'll go ahead and pick that. If you're not familiar about transpositions, I'll probably make a video about that later as well. We are in common time, which is the same as 4/4, but I'll go ahead and have it match the score. And then it's marked Largo. So, you know, that could mean a variety of things. I may end up changing this later, but let's just go ahead and say like 52 for right now. There are some 16th note triplets in this one, but not very many. So we may want to go slower. We may want to go faster. Measures, there is a pickup measure, one single beat, and there are 26 full measures in this etude. No lyrics, of course. And that's it. So we can go ahead and hit done. And it makes our score here really small for some reason. So let's make that bigger. I'm going to try and fill up pretty much the whole screen. Should be good. Okay. So the way that I like to start these ones is there are a lot of details in these etudes. So articulations, dynamics, expressive text, accents, trills, ornaments, all those kinds of things. And what I like to do is just do the notes and the rhythms first, and then I'll put in those details later. You may prefer to do it the other way. You can put in the details as you go along. There are a lot of shortcuts. That's one of the things that I want to focus on in these videos too, is talking about useful shortcuts in this program, because it makes things go a lot faster. So I just hit the letter N on the keyboard. That makes it so that we can start entering notes. And then if I hit the number 4 on the keyboard, that's going to allow me to enter eighth notes, and we can just go ahead and start entering notes in here. By the way, I think I have it set so that you will be able to hear the notes as I enter them, but I won't hear them here in my studio right now. I may decide to do it so that you can't hear the notes at all if it becomes obnoxious. But I'm just going to try it for right now. We'll see how it goes. If it really annoys you or you think it's valuable, let me know in the comments. So let's just get started. So we've got B and E. When I'm entering notes, I just enter the name of the note on the keyboard. We'll go 6 for half notes, G, and then still a half note. I can press an up arrow to make it be a sharp, so I don't have to go clicking on the sharp button at the top there. And still half notes, we've got an E, eighth note, B. There is a rest. We can just arrow over to the next note here, which is a quarter note. So I'm going to hit 5 to select a quarter note. And then this is going to be B. It's going to put it to the closest B that it had before. So that's going to be middle B, but we want it up an octave. So we're going to hit Control up arrow. That'll make it go up an octave. If you could just hold the up arrow and let it go 12 times, but that is obviously slow. So Control, and if you're on a Mac, obviously Command up arrow instead of Control. All quarter notes here, A, G, F sharp. All right, now this is going to be interesting. We've got a triplet, and MuseScore is kind of weird. What you want to do is enter the note duration that the entire triplet takes up. So in this case, it's 16th note triplets. If you add up all 3 of those 16th note triplets, it's going to be the length of an eighth note. So I'm going to select 4 for eighth notes. And then I go Control 3. And that'll put your triplet in there. So you can see they're 16th note triplets instead of the eighth note triplets. Like that. We've got a dotted 16th note. You can see after the triplets, it still has 16th notes up there. So I'm going to hit period, the period key, and make it a dotted 16th note. And then we automatically have a rest, a 30-second note rest after that, but we still have to go in and press the number 2 to enter the 30-second note there. It's one of the few things that I don't like about MuseScore. I think that it should kind of like detect if it thinks that you want to have a shorter rhythm after a dot and then automatically select that for you. Maybe somebody's made a plugin for it or something like that, but I'm not aware of it if they have. So 6 for half notes, we'll put an E in there, 4 for eighth notes, period for dot, and then D up arrow for D sharp, and then 3 for 16th notes, B. These are all going to be 16th notes here. C up arrow for C sharp, D sharp carries through the measure, so even though we don't see the D sharp there, it should be a D sharp. E, F sharp. Actually, let me demonstrate that. So I'm arrowing back. If I press the down arrow, if it were a D natural, it would go to C sharp or D flat instead. But since it's D sharp, it made it natural. So up arrow to put it back. Okay, so continuing on, I'll try to go a little bit faster here. So 6, G, F, that'll be F sharp because it's in the key signature. Let's go. And you know what? I'm actually going to make the line breaks match the edition that I'm looking at just for ease of reading so that my eyes can kind of like quickly go back and forth between them. So I just, in that measure, anywhere in that measure, you can hit enter and it'll make the line break. Okay. 6, C, that's too low, so control up arrow. And then we've got another triplet, but this one's an eighth note triplet. So I'm going to pick the length that all of those eighth note triplets take up, which is a quarter note. And then control 3. B, A, B. And then 3 for 16th notes. That's too high, control down arrow. And it's going to put the B down, so we got to control up arrow for that one. A. And then dotted eighth, so 4 period. By the way, one of the things that I really want to do with these videos is just have the shortcuts pop up as I'm doing it. I don't know if you've ever seen like competitions for people doing Excel spreadsheets, but they'll like display the shortcuts that they use for the program at the bottom of the screen. They'll kind of like appear as the person is doing it. I don't know if there's some way to automate that. If you're familiar with video editing and OBS and you have any tips about how to make that, like I could go into Final Cut Pro and manually insert all of them myself, but I can't imagine how time consuming that would be. It would probably like double or triple the time it would make to make a video like this. So if you know of a way to automate it, let me know. Comments, or you can send me an email. So anyway, where did I leave off? Measure 7, and we're going to do a G. There is a courtesy accidental there, meaning that it already would be G natural, but they throw it in there. Oh, sorry, no. There's a grace note earlier with a G sharp on there, so we do actually have to cancel it out, but we'll get to that later. 5 for quarter note, period for dot, and then we'll go G again. Eighth notes. Sorry, F sharp, and then 6 for half note, A, 5 for quarter note, G, 6 for half note, F, that's an F sharp, quarter note, 5, G, E, we'll just hit period for the dot, and this is a D sharp right there. I just used up and down arrows to get there. 3 for 16th note, F sharp, 5 for quarter note, we've got the B up there. That looks wrong, so what did I do wrong here? This needs to be a double dotted quarter note, and that seems to be actually wrong in the addition. So I think, what do I need to do here? Sorry, I'm kind of new to MuseScore 4. I'm used to MuseScore 3. So, here we go. Double augmentation dot, and I guess we open that eye so that we can see it. And there it is. Okay. There's probably no shortcut for that. You can see that that ate up the 16th note that we did in there before. So let's go ahead and hit, well, so this is outside of note entry mode now. If you remember, I pressed N right at the very beginning to be able to enter notes. Now I am, I'm not sure at what point the N got turned off, but I'm going to go ahead and turn it back on again by just hitting N. Turn it off, press backspace to delete that quarter note that we don't want anymore. And now I'm going to hit N to turn it back on. And we should be able to get this 16th note in there. F sharp, and then 5, B. Now we've got the right amount of beats in the measure here. And then I just hit enter to break the line. We're about halfway done here. So like I said, I'm going to try and go a little bit faster here. 5, quarter note, C sharp, 3, 16th note, stays C sharp, A sharp, G, E, C, A, G, E, D, G, F, E, 4 for eighth note. That's a D sharp. I just use the up arrow. 5 for quarter note. B, too low, so we go control up arrow. 4, A sharp. Use the up arrow there and the down arrow there. 5 for quarter note. 4 for eighth note, F sharp. E, and then we want to do 2 octaves up E, so control, up, up, and then we've got eighth notes after that, so the number 4, E, C, G, E, C, G, E, C, G. What did I say? E, C, G, E, C, G, E, C. And then 5 for quarter note, B. And we got to go up the octave, control up arrow. This is kind of a neat little trick here. So we've got a quarter note tied into the next measure. So you could just enter the quarter note and select an eighth note and do the tie. But you can also, because we only have 1 beat left in the measure, and the note that we want is total 1.5 beats long, you can still do 5 for quarter note, dot, which is going to be a 1.5 beat long note. But because we only have a beat left, the program's going to split it up into the next measure. So look at that. We don't have to worry about doing a tie. I just did down arrow control down arrow. Turn back on note entry. I just realized if I arrowed forward, it would probably scroll down automatically, so I didn't really need to turn it off and scroll. Okay, this is the first time that we're seeing this. So we want to put a rest in there that isn't in there already. So we select the note duration, that's a 16th note, and then we press the 0 key. So it's kind of like a note duration that you would normally do. I think I pressed minus and it turned on the flat. Yeah, okay, we don't want that. So anyway, 0, and you can think of it as like a nothing note. There's nothing there, but it's still the note duration. So 0 puts in the rest, and now the rest of them are just written out 16th notes. So again, control up, up. Sorry, the B's already in there. A sharp, B, C, B, F sharp, G, A, natural to cancel out the accidental that carries through, D sharp, B, F sharp, up, control up arrow, control down arrow, 3, 0 to enter the rest. And now we're just putting in more 16th notes. B, A up the octave, control up arrow, B down the octave, control down arrow, G. I think you get the idea at this point. There are going to be a lot of ups and downs here, but it's always control up or down. C, E, B, A, B, sharp, E. A lot of really cool lines in these etudes. That's a lot of jumps in there, which is what makes it challenging. But it also has really nice voice leading, meaning that it's kind of implying chords behind there. And each time it moves to the next chord, it's kind of the closest note in the next chord possible, which makes the line sound really smooth and logical. So we're still doing 16th notes here. By the way, sometimes it's really easy to drop accidentals like this. I'm gonna have to go in and play this later and see if I made any mistakes with accidentals that got dropped or something like that. You guys will be able to hear it. I cannot hear it right now, so I can't tell if I missed anything. So apologies if there are any wrong notes in here. I'll go in and fix it later. A, B, G, G, F sharp, C, B, the other way. And there's a line break here. Oh, okay. So, MuseScore defaults to a note spacing that is a little bit wider than most published music tends to be. I've got a double dot in here, so I've got to go up here and click on the double dot. Hopefully it's quarter. Yeah, okay. So what happened there is that in the published sheet music, measures 16 to the beginning of 20 are all in one line. Because we've got a bunch of 16th notes on there and MuseScore tries to space them out a little bit more, it made it so that it auto line breaks after 3 measures, and then we've got an awkward measure there that is just by itself. So if there's enough time in this video, let's see, where are we at? Yeah. After I finish putting in the notes and the details, I'll try to decide if I want to mess with like formatting and stuff. I think it's good to know if you want to make it look exactly like what's in the sheet music, but it also doesn't really affect whether or not you can read the notes and do the MIDI playback. So we'll see when we get there. I'm not sure what I'm going to decide to do. This may end up being like an hour-long video. So like I said, I'm trying out new things. If this ends up being way too long and nobody thinks it's worthwhile, well, I'll still keep the video up there, but when I do more of these in the future, I'll adjust how I'm doing things to make them as palatable as possible. More double dots. Whoops. C. And then this is the last line, by the way, so we're almost done here. Almost done with the note entry anyway. Okay. Five dot F 4 B 5 E, control down, arrow arrow, 5 dot, control down, 4 B 6 E, control down. I don't think we've actually had a real tie here yet, but we've also got 8th note triplets, so we hit 5 for the quarter note and then control. Oop. I hit Alt instead of Control, so apparently Alt adds the note as a chord. We don't want to do that. So 5 and Control 3. So now we got our triplets there. Let's write them all out first, and then we'll go back. Sorry for the chromatic in your ears. E, G, B, 6 dot. Oh, gosh, I forgot about the triplet in there. Sorry, guys. But I could keep going backspace. So N, we'll go and select these guys. Delete, Control 3. That worked outside of note entry because I had the quarter note selected. If I had a different rhythm selected and did Control 3, it would try to squeeze 3 notes into whatever that rhythm was. So note entry now, N, E, G, B, 6 dot E. And then we got to do this tie here. So I'm going to go over here. I pressed N to turn off note entry, click on the half note. I think in MuseScore 4 it's T. Yeah, T for tie. In MuseScore 3 it was Shift plus, and that's what I got used to. So it's been a little bit weird making that transition. So anyway, that's all the notes and rhythms. I think what I'll do is I'll end up making chapter markings in these videos, so whatever you're interested in, you can skip around, but I'll keep them sort of more long form so that if you're interested in just like following along with the entire thing, then that's easy to do. Okay, so now we're putting in details, and what I mean by details is text, dynamics, articulations, grace notes, trills, crescendos, accents, all the other stuff that's in the music here. There may be a more efficient way to do this, but if you know of any, let me know. So I'm just going to go in and kind of just like click where everything is. So on this first note, we've got a dynamic marking here. So we go over into this left pane. A lot of these details over here are going to be in your left-hand pane. And actually, I know there is a way to have more options if you can't find what you're looking for in here. Let me just see if I can quickly figure this out. Toolbars. I'm looking for something like advanced or professional. Can't remember exactly where that is right now, so I'll do that in a different video. I don't think it'll come up in this one, but we'll see. There's also, instead of a tempo marking here, there's just text that says Largo. Let's put that above the tempo marking here. I might change that later too, just to make it look a little bit better. Okay. So trills and turns and those kinds of things fall under what are called ornaments. So we go in there, just click on the trill. And then here's where we can find out, you know what, this is kind of weird. So I know there's a shortcut for grace notes, but the one that I know puts them before a note that it's going to. And in this case, the grace notes are contained within measure 1. So I think we're going to have to do this manually. So the screen is far away from me. Let's see, 8th after. Yeah, we want 16th after, and we want to have it on the correct note here. So 16th, and there are 2 of them. So there we go. So this will look right. If you put, if you do the MIDI playback on this, it might make the grace notes sound weird. So what you can do, that's one of the advantages of having it written out. You've got complete control. So you can make the grace notes be attached to the E in measure 2 instead of the D sharp in measure 1. And that'll make it so that it doesn't look exactly like the addition that you're doing, but it'll make the MIDI playback sound a little bit more accurate to what you're trying to do if you're trying to model your grace notes after that. So then I just did up and down arrows like you would normally do on any other note. I don't think I mentioned, but the slur is just S, the letter S on your keyboard, so I'll do that again. And now we're going to start to do some shift click types of things. There's a slur that goes all the way across here. There's also another slur in the edition that I'm looking at just on the triplets, but I think what that's doing there is a bracket to show you that those notes are grouped together. So I'm going to leave that off for right now. Again, I might change my mind later, but let's go S for slur. And then all of these ones are connected here. And we've got, oh, I missed one detail here. Shift and click, and then we're going to go shift and the comma button. And the way that you can remember that is that when you press shift on the comma button, it puts in the accent sign. So it looks kind of like a, you know, the alligator mouth that you might have heard people say in your elementary school for the crescendos there. Here, instead of a written crescendo, we have expressive text. That way, the way that you put that in is Control E, and it puts it below and sort of makes it italics. So like that. The way that I did this one over here is Control T. So that's just normal system text. Did I miss anything else? I think that's everything. Okay, click that, and we're going to put a trill in here. And we have some more of these grace notes that are contained within that measure. Did that too fast. Okay. E, F sharp, slur. Yeah. If you arrow over while you have the slur connected, it changes the beginning and ends of the slur instead. Okay, we've got a dynamic here. Forte. This is one of the things that I really like about MuseScore 4 over MuseScore 3. You have the option to pick from your dynamics directly in the score instead of having to go over here every time. That was kind of an annoying thing to do in MuseScore 3. Okay, let's see if the shortcut that I know for grace notes works here. Yes, all right, so that is the, is it backslash? I can never remember the direction, but it's the one that's right next to the period key and the shift key. And that'll put an 8th note triplet with a slash through the beam before the note that you have selected. So that's why I didn't use that shortcut for the other ones. They're 16th note triplets and they happen after the note that you have selected. That looks bad, but we'll change that later. Shift click, S for slur. Now that I've talked about some of these shortcuts, I might do what I was doing before and just start to kind of move a little bit quicker. 16th note, grace note before, and there are 3 of them. Actually, I think they're 32nd note grace notes. So let's hit backspace. Oops. Control Z is your best friend. Okay, now we've got that selected. 32nd notes here. And they are G sharp, A, and B. And now you see that natural sign that I was talking about before. That comes in now. Slur. Maybe not. If you have a slur written, you can hold shift and press the right arrow or the left arrow to change where the ends of the slur are. The ends of the slur are, sure. Got a slur here. Nope. I just missed the note head. That's why I did that. Slur. And we have another crescendo. So that's shift, comma. And here's our shortcut grace note, the slash. Coming from F sharp. We slur into it. The S. And slur from one note to the next. And then we also have this decrescendo looks like it goes to the rest there. So shift and period instead of comma for the decrescendo. Just a little efficiency trick. If you click on the measure, that'll select all of the notes in that measure. So there's a slur on all of those notes. So I can do that without shift clicking, which is kind of nice. Select that one, piano. No articulations there. All right. And we are going to slur all of the way down to the D. This is also forte. Slur here. And then we have some syncopation work, offbeats, slurs. Quick tip here, you can change where some elements are above or below the staff by pressing X. In the edition that I'm looking at, the slur is below. That's why I did that. Okay. Do I remember this shortcut? This is for an accent, just your normal, like, I think they're called sforzando or something. It's not the dynamic, but the accent mark. So it looks like that. Got it right. And then in this edition, it's below. And that's going to really bug me. I'm going to have to look that up later. I can't remember what the accents are actually called, but everybody usually just calls them accents. So that shortcut was Shift V. And this one is below 2. So X. And then I did miss an accidental D sharp. That's one of the nice things about going through a second time as well, is that you can oftentimes catch things that you missed before. There's a piano here. Going over to the D sharp, slur. A lot of slurring here. The next one has some slurs and a decrescendo. It looks like it goes to, I want to say G. Slur. Oh, you know what? No. It is not that. It's actually the entire measure. There's just a ink stain, ink missing. There's ink missing. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. And then this entire measure has a slur, so we can use that efficiency trick there. Just click somewhere in the measure where there isn't anything. Forte. Oh, I forgot the decrescendo. Got distracted. So we'll shift click, shift period for the decrescendo. Forte. Trill up here. The other thing that's really nice about this program too is that you can go and set your own shortcuts. I'll show you how to do that at the end of this video. I've never done it, but I know people that have and they found it to be really useful. So if there isn't a shortcut already set for the trills, you can make one for yourself if you're doing a piece that has a lot of trills in there. So D sharp. I don't think I mentioned, but oftentimes when you're pressing the down arrow on a natural note, it'll make it a flat when you're going down and then a sharp going up. So I've been pressing down twice and then pressing up again. In my mind, that's just faster than clicking the sharp button instead of doing it that way. So a couple more grace notes here. That time wasn't intentional, I just went too low. Okay, these 4/8 notes are slurred together. Dotted quarter over to the quarter on beat 1. Got piano. No articulations. Slur. And then, aha. Here's an answer to the question about the triplets. So these triplets also have that slur looking thing over them, but they also have these staccatos, which is not to say that you can never have a slur without staccatos at the same time. Sometimes people do that notation, but in my mind, I think it's a pretty clear indication that those slur looking things, the things that look like slurs, are actually just brackets to show you that they're grouped together. So mystery solved there. And then it looks like maybe the crescendo goes from here instead of the beginning of the measure. And it does go to, I guess just the end of the measure there. So shift and comma. And then as we're holding the final note, shift and period to decrescendo and fade away gracefully. Yeah, nice thing is if you have a dynamic there, if you put a crescendo or decrescendo in there, it'll automatically move it over, even though you have that note selected. Okay, let's take a look at this. Actually not even very close to an hour yet, so we're making pretty good time here. I'm just gonna do a quick look through and make sure that I didn't miss anything. Again, you guys will probably know before I do if I missed something, and you may be shouting at your screens. And just because I do this double check also doesn't necessarily mean that I'll catch everything either, but it never hurts to just take a quick look through. So got the forte and the slurs. Got all of this. Okay. Good. I think we do have plenty of time to deal with this line break here. So we'll do that in a moment. Okay, I think that looks good. So, since this is on my mind, let's go ahead and do this first. And what we're going to do is go into, if I can get the menu to pop up here, what we're going to do is format, and we're going to go to style. And I kind of want to be able to see the sheet music here. And I believe what we want to do is measures, and it'll give you a bunch of data about how much, what it uses for spacing, for notes and clefs and bar lines, all those types of things. And I think what I normally do here is minimum note distance, and I turn that down if I can. So that kind of scrunches everything together. Unfortunately, that didn't resolve our issue though. So let's try minimum measure width. We'll turn that down as well. That's not doing it either. Spacing ratio. That seems to be separating things. Okay. So we've got these handy buttons to reset everything that we did here. Let's see. Let's have the note to the bar line a little bit closer. And bar line to note. Turn that down a little bit. That may be all we can do here. I mean, so here's the thing with MuseScore. If you can think of something that you're trying to do in the program and you're asking yourself, I wonder if I can XYZ, insert the blank. The answer is yes, you can do it. So I'm sure there's some way to get this onto a single line. The question is just, how do we do it? And this may have to be an edit that I do later. I don't want to spend too much time trying to figure this out. So we'll just get out of here for right now. Other thing I'm going to look for is any notation that looks weird, anything that is different from how it's done in the score. So one of the things that MuseScore likes to do, for example, is these 3-note groupings, especially of eighth notes. You almost never see groupings of 3 eighth notes that are beamed together. Well, I don't want to say almost never. There are some periods in history where that was more common to do that. But I think more modern scores, they want to avoid having confusion with triplets versus eighth notes. And usually if you have 3 eighth notes in a row with a rest at the beginning, or I guess a rest at the end of it, the offbeat, let's see, how would you do it? If it's a rest at the end, then the note at the end, the third eighth note, is going to be by itself. The beam isn't going to go across to the third one. And then if it's a rest and then 3 eighth notes, the first one, the and of 1, or the offbeat, is going to be by itself with a flag instead of a beam. So that's one of the things that I'm looking for. But in this edition, they do have the 3/16 notes here, and that's a little bit more common to see. So we don't have to do anything there. Slurs all look pretty good. Crescendos and decrescendos look fine. So honestly, I think that's all I want to do here. And any changes that are going to come in after the fact, I'll do it outside of the video, and I'll make a note of it in the notes, in the video notes. So final thing that I'll do is, I was talking about shortcuts and how you can make your own shortcuts. So the way that you go into preferences, this is a nice shortcut to know, is Control, comma, and that's a pretty common shortcut, so it might apply to other programs that you're trying to use. If you want to pull up the preferences, Control, comma, or again, Command, comma, if you're on Mac. Come down here to shortcuts, and you've got a listing of all your shortcuts here. So if you're not sure if there's a shortcut for that note, you can go up to the search bar, trill. There is no preset shortcut here, but what you can do is define, and then it should have this automatically selected. And let's just say T is already taken by Ty. We knew that already. So what might be a good one to do. We can't do Control T because that's text. Let's try Control. Well, let's try Control R. This is risky. Okay, and that's why it was risky. Control R is also the shortcut for starting and stopping the recording on OBS, so I'm gonna have to stitch these together. But anyway, so you type the shortcut in there, you hit save, it tells you there's already one, so let's not do that. So, but anyway, you get the idea. You can pick a shortcut that works for you for anything that you're using a lot in the score that you're writing. And if you... again, if you're not sure, you can type it in. So let's say grace note, and you can see here the grace note shortcut that I was using before is the slash there. So you can also use it to find out just what the normal shortcuts are preset in the program. So that's pretty much all I wanted to do here. Again, like I said, let me switch back to this other view here. This was mainly a test for me to see if I could run OBS and MuseScore at the same time, because they're both kind of resource intensive programs. So we'll see how it looks, but also I'll end up using this MuseScore file to do further videos on the Ferling Etudes. And if you're watching this and you're like, this is way too much effort, I don't want to go in and do this myself, I think I will offer this file to download. So you can just download it, open up your version of MuseScore 4, and just open up the file, and you should have everything exactly as it is in here. So please, if you watched all the way through this video and you found it useful, let me know about that. If you skipped to the end because it was just too painful to watch all the way through, let me know what you didn't like about it and what you would do better. Yeah, other than that, just looking forward to continuing to make new videos, experimenting with new tools and technologies, and putting out stuff that is helpful for you guys on your saxophone and woodwind journeys. So with that, I am Mike with Mastering Woodwinds. I'll see you in the next one.